With the Vicksburg campaign obviously going badly, the Confederacy is desperate to try to get a victory in the east to counteract what's going to happen in the west. It's a matter of time that Vicksburg is going to fall, and so Lee's going to try to do his part and try to counteract this. And one way, invade the north. And so what we're going to see is one of the most famous battles, if not the most famous battle of the war, known as the Battle of Gettysburg. But the first thing he needs to do is deal with the effects of the death of Stonewall Jackson, i.e., he needs to reorganize the Army of Northern Virginia. The Army of Northern Virginia basically was organized with Lee at the top and James Longstreet as the first Corps commander and Stonewall Jackson as the second Corps commander. Lee was never really comfortable so much with this huge bodies of men under one commander, excuse me. Rather, what he would rather have is to break it apart and to make it, and to make smaller corps. So he goes from a 2-corps army to a 3-corps army. Longstreet will remain the commander of the 1st Corps, but now you'll have 2 new guys coming up. Richard Ewell, would be Stonewall Jackson's chief lieutenant under his command when he was alive. Richard Ewell will come to command the 2nd Corps, and there will be a 3rd Corps created under the command of A.P. Hill. Both of these guys are excellent divisional commanders. Unfortunately, they're very, very timid when it comes to their ability to command a corps. But of course, what happens, therefore, is that when you replace and you put new corps commanders into those spots, now you got to replace the division commanders, and so on and so forth. So that by the time that Lee decides to invade the North, he is dealing with brand new senior officers that are in their jobs for a very short amount of time. Not these seasoned veterans that know how to operate their former units. Now they are brand new when it comes to these organizations. In addition to this, the Union Army is going to be commanded by a new commander. When Lee decides to invade the North, he's going to trick Hooker, and he's going to get the jump on Hooker, and he basically loses nerve, and he's going to resign his command. And on June 28th, 1863, a new commanding general of the Army of the Potomac, in fact, the last commanding general of the Army of the Potomac, George Gordon Meade, will become its commanding general. Note the date of his command, June 28th, 1863. Gettysburg begins on July 1st, so he's literally on the job for a few days, if that, when he comes down to a massive battle against Lee. Well, the Battle of Gettysburg is going to begin mainly because of the fact that the 2 armies stumble on each other in the town of Gettysburg. If you take a look at a map of Pennsylvania, particularly Gettysburg, you will see that there are numerous roads that go in and out of Gettysburg. Anytime you have that, it's going to be a militarily important town. And so both sides know it, and so both sides are going to start converging on Gettysburg. Well, on July 1st, 1863, the Union Army is going to find the Confederates are coming down on Gettysburg, and they definitely try to withstand the Confederate onslaught. But nonetheless, the Confederates push the Union through Gettysburg and out, and in fact, the Confederates are conceivably more in control of the town of Gettysburg, whereas the Union is on the outskirts, but in the all-important heights of Gettysburg. But it looks like that first day of the battle, it was definitely a Confederate good day for the Confederacy. The second day, July 2nd, 1863, it looks a little bit better for the Confederacy. It starts out better, but by the time you get to the end of July 2nd, the Union is able to stabilize itself. It maintains control of the heights. This is the day that you hear about when it comes to, say, like the Little Round Top and Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain running down the hill with a bayonet charge. And so the second day, it starts out pretty well for the Confederacy, but ultimately the Union holds out. On the night of July 2nd, July 3rd, 1863, Lee is thinking about what he's going to do. And if you take a look at the lines of the Union, it looks like a fish hook. All right, an upside down J, and Lee knows that I've hit the Union on its right, I've hit it on its left, and where is it weakest? It's going to be weakest in the middle because the Union's going to reinforce the left and the right, and I've got to take men from the middle. So he says I'm going to go for the middle. Well, the problem with that thinking is that's exactly what Meade's going to think. If Meade's going to say, you know what, he's hit me there, he's hit me on the right, he's hit me there on the left. He's going to hit me, he's going to think I'm weak in the middle. That's where I would attack. So what does he do? He starts reinforcing his middle. Well, on the morning of July 3rd, 1863, Lee is going to make the most famous charge of the entire war, Pickett's charge. What is it going to do? Basically what happens is in the morning of July 3rd, all of the Confederate artillery opens fire right on the Union middle. There's no question where the Confederacy is coming from. And so then after the artillery barrage is done, then 3 Confederate divisions are going to march against the Union middle. And it's an absolute slaughter. Or it's a disaster for the Confederacy. The Union Army is able basically to do what the Confederates did. The Union Army is able to do at Gettysburg what the Confederates did to the Union at Fredericksburg. Lee's men are marching over a mile in open air. As soon as they march out of the trees and on towards the Union lines, they're going to be subject to artillery fire, and then as they get closer and closer, they're going to start getting subject to infantry fire, and it's just an absolute disaster. For example, there are going to be 13 colonels under Pickett's command during this operation, and I forget the exact numbers, but nonetheless, 7 are wounded and 6 are killed, or 7 are killed and 6 are wounded. It doesn't that detail doesn't matter. What does matter is that of the 13 colonels, all of them are going to be incapacitated by this war, either through death or through wounding. It's a disaster, and Lee is forced to turn around and lick his wounds. We traditionally call this the turning point of the war, at least on the tactical side, because for the most part, Lee is going to be on the defensive for the remainder of the war. He can no longer act as aggressively as he has before. This doesn't mean that the end is in sight. And after all, we still got about 2 more years of heavy fighting. The bloodletting is going to basically has only started. But nonetheless, Gettysburg is going to represent a major turning point of the war in our modern view. We can see that the war is it has turned the tide in the East for the Union almost irrevocably. But nonetheless, Gettysburg is going to be this twin victory, the second victory of that twin victory of July of 1863. Gettysburg ends in July of 1863, and Vicksburg ends in July 4th, 1863.